Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. Yesterday I had difficulty opening the curtain on my trailer. It's on wheels. I keep it maintained very well, greased, so it's easy to move with one person. But when the wind is blowing in a certain direction, it makes it very difficult to open the curtain because you have to open the back flap first, because there's two 1-inch straps that crisscross in the back to help keep that back from flopping around, and so that the door will stay closed. So if the wind catches it just right, it blows in there, and it just makes it super difficult to open. And also, if the wind is blowing heavy from one side or the other, it makes it difficult. You can get it done by yourself, but you got to work at it. Where I was unloading yesterday had issues with the wind, so therefore had issues trying to get the curtain open, and I was struggling to get it open. Another truck pulled up behind me with the same type of trailer. So I know he's had the same difficulties that I have had, and he seen me struggling with the curtain. Rather than getting out and asking if I needed help or anything, he just walked on past me and walked on in the building. Kind of bummed me out, because years ago in trucking, if a driver was having issues and somebody walked by, the driver walking by would stop and see if he could help. Now I see it more and more that it's evident that people are just out for themselves and could care less about helping the next guy. When I got all finished, I was talking to a driver and found out he'd only been driving since like November, right around Thanksgiving of last year. So he's just been out here a few months. So I showed him a few little things I've learned over the years, how to hang your bungee cords and things like that. And he's very appreciative. It didn't take any time. It didn't cost me anything. I was waiting on my next load assignment because there was issues with the weight and they was having to find a different one. And so we were just visiting, and he was, eager to hear and see what I learned, the knowledge I had that I could pass on. And we should do that every day, whether we know the individual is struggling or not. If we see they're struggling, what's it cost you to stop and say, hey, need a little help? I got a few minutes, I can help you. You would be surprised of what the conversation will lead to. A lot of times there's an opportunity to share the Lord when that wasn't your intent at all. Your intent was to help somebody in need, and a door opened. But if we don't stop to help our brother who's in need, then we're not that opportunity to share Christ is not there. So it's so if you do one, the other happens. You know what I mean? So I didn't get a chance to witness to him yesterday. Didn't go that way, but of course he's seen on the back of the flap everything about my Facebook pages and stuff. So I have no idea if he looked later on or even if it interests him. But the mere fact that I stopped and took time, and it didn't cost me nothing, to help him. We need to do more of that. I see less and less of that each day. And what's 5 minutes going to cost you to ask somebody, hey, need a little help? In 1 John, the 3rd chapter, starting in verse 16, it says, we know love by this, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brethren. But whoever has the world's goods and sees his brother in need and closes his heart against him, how does the love of God abide in him? This verse says the world's goods. I look at that and I think wealth, the wealth we've accumulated by hard work, and that if we don't share that. But it can also mean, and this is just my thought, it can also mean our time. Time is valuable to each and every one of us, and we have the same amount of time each given day. It's what we do with that time that makes the difference. Like I said earlier, what would it take but 5 minutes for that driver to hop up on my trailer and help me get my curtain open so I could get unloaded? 5 minutes. But he chose not to do that. As you go through the day and you see somebody struggling, what choice have you made? Or do you walk by and go, gee, hate to be you? It's not the way we should do things. That's not as Christians, that's not how we should look at things. We see a brother in need, we should, if we've got the time, or at least offer, say, hey, need a helping hand. But then in verse 18 it says, little children, let us not love with word or tongue, but in deed and truth. We will know by this that we are of the truth, and will assure our heart before him. Again, what's it cost you to help somebody you see struggling? And who knows what could come of that encounter? There's been, like I said, there's been many a time I've stopped to offer to help somebody, and in the end, I get to share with them about Jesus. I might hear about strugglers they're having, and before we leave and part ways, have an opportunity to pray for them. But if I hadn't made the initial stop and asked, hey, need a helping hand, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So as you go through the day, think about that. Think about the times where you could have stopped, you had time to spare, you could have stopped and offered a hand to help somebody. Who knows what the outcome of that encounter would be. So let's make that a new thing this next week as we go forth today and on. If you see somebody in need and you have the time, stop and say, hey, can I help you? And just see what doors open for a chance to share the Lord with somebody.